Now, then you got to integrate it. And you talk about communication points. If you think about, this is a McDonald's internet ad. They have their first global campaign is I'm loving it. And they're putting it everywhere. Now, this situation actually makes some sense for internet, right? It fits the mood, the state of mind of the consumer at home, thinking about going to eat a salad later. This is the tray liner. Now, since you've all got a job now as the director of Hungarian tourism, let's see if you can get the job as the marketing director for McDonald's. Now, just think about it, because that's all you really got to do is you just got to think about it. And not get so caught up in doing stuff that you just take a moment and think about what you're doing and think about what the customer wants. Think about Frau Schmidt. Now, when you go to McDonald's, and you all been to McDonald's, you go there, they ask you what you want. You order a Big Mac, fries, drink. And then the next question they ask you, for here or to go, right? One thing McDonald's is consistent. So they ask you that. And you say, I'll have it here. The tray comes out, the tray liner comes up, and you see this message. That's the point in time. Now, at that point in time, what is the best thing for McDonald's to communicate? Here, they're advertising the advertising message. And I asked the managing director, why did you do that? And he said, because corporate paid for it. Well, okay, great. So you got free. How much do these tray liners cost? Half a penny a piece? But what could they have sold at that moment in time? Now, you're the marketing director for McDonald's. At that moment in time, and think about that moment in time in the consumer's life with your product interaction, what could you sell at McDonald's? You don't have any of the data. What would you sell? Dessert. McDonald's actually has the data that tells you it's somewhere between 10 and 15% of the people at McDonald's buy a dessert. So it's a pretty good chance at that moment in time they didn't order dessert and you might get an extra added-on purchase. Will that increase their sales? Will that increase their margin? Absolutely. Or how about frequency? How about getting the person to come back in a week with a barbecue sandwich? But you got to take a step back and not just think about how's the most efficient way to advertise your advertising campaign, or how do you get free tray liners, or get somebody to give you a free umbrella for your restaurant. Actually think about what you're doing about going to market and trying to sell something. Because, boy, I'll tell you, we lose ourselves along the way all the time. Now, if you look at ads, 78% of ads, I don't know why I got a mailbox, and that's a very interesting icon that just came up there. Anyway, 78% of ads in a recent Cannes award show, 78% didn't include a call to action, 60% didn't describe the product, and 45% didn't demonstrate the product. Now, the agency's chief creative officer actually said this in Ad Age. He says, we are not trying to sell anything in the Magic Happens campaign. Congratulations, you were successful in that. Actually, revenues dropped by $119 million after the campaign was run. I don't know if you've seen the campaign. It's a husband and wife laying in bed, and they're doing Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck impersonations. I don't know what you do at night, but it sounds a little wild, even for Disney. But they're trying to get people to reconnect with their youth and want to bring their kids to it, some kind of continuity story. But it was lost, and they're really excited about this campaign. But when my creative director says that, I go, wait a minute. Marketing is supposed to sell more stuff to more people more often, more efficiently. This guy's not on board. I'd get a new creative director. I think they probably have. So what's standing our way? Why aren't we doing this stuff? And the reason is most businesses are managed by routines. We get caught up in a routine. Remember that, like, I have to get out 70% reach-through frequency on a new product launch if you're an FMCG, and it's like this commandment. Who says? I understand reach, but why do I need to get the message out 3 times? That seems like an excuse for bad advertising. I got to tell you something 3 times for you to understand it. Maybe it was really good creative, really impactful, really involved the consumer. Once is enough. But we have this 70% reach-through frequency. It's been around since I've been involved in the business. It's a tried and true routine that's been tried over and over again, but it never was true. So we start doing these routines, and we lead in the same cycle of sameness and same tools, and we get the same results, a downward cycle. So here's some new rules and old rules. Set budget first and strategic plans later. I think, I'm sorry it doesn't fit quite there on the slide there, but what you want to do, how many people have budgets? Yeah, you set the budget the first of the year, then you fill the budget in, right? Or you go and figure out, setting budgets are self-limiting. Get out of the habit of budgets. What you want to do is think about what you're trying to achieve. And then what does it take to achieve your objective? How much money is that going to cost? What investment? So think about what you're trying to achieve, and then what does it take to do that, rather than simply, here's my budget. And I don't care if you're talking about a sales budget, whatever. Instead of saying, well, I sold this much last year, I'll sell 5% more, or the economy is really good. How many business plan presentations start with a discussion about the economy? Like that's the reason they went up or down on their estimate versus last year. It should be based on what's the potential? What's the capacity you have? What are people's needs? Then what do you got to do to achieve that? That should be your number, not a budget number. And what are you going to do to achieve it? If you do that, you start focusing on activities. If you do budget, you focus on the activities. You start filling the budget up. Or you want to focus on outcomes. If you're focused on the strategy and what you're trying to achieve, you actually start saying, what's the outcome of these strategies? Dumbest mistake of all time, awareness. If I had $1 for every time somebody comes to me and says, well, this will drive awareness for Coke, I think, what cave are we going to advertise in that we can find those 2 or 3 people that don't know what Coke is? It's not, but even if your company isn't as well known for Coke, it's not about awareness. So, and everybody says, well, you got to get awareness first. And then you get them to understand the brand, and then you get them to try it, and they got this like linear cycle. You know, it's like, well, I'm going to go on a trip. I'm going to go to Barcelona because I got to get to Barcelona first. Then I'm going to come back and get my luggage and then take it to Barcelona. I think it's more efficient to go to Barcelona and take my luggage with me. I think it's more important that when you're going to say you're going to put an advertising message, any communication, even your logo, that you ought to say something about the value of your brand. Because it just isn't efficient otherwise. So it's not a linear, I got to get awareness first, I'm going to do an awareness building campaign, and then I'm going to follow it with this. I was with the Georgia tourism guys the other day, and they're talking about a whole awareness campaign for Georgia tourism, and then they'll later tell you why you should go. I'm thinking if they just tell you Georgia 500 times, you might think it's a state. Oh, we're going to tell you it's not the state. Oh, Georgia, the country. So what? Tell me something about why I should go to Georgia, the country. Because otherwise you're wasting money to try to do it in some kind of linear fashion.